Oh my god. For real. I'm crying.
A boot.
A boot. What, were you waiting in queue to get to this podcast, or? God.
No.
Let's not go into stereotypes, because
No.
the British. Well, at least Canadian and British stereotypes are usually relatively positive. Relatively.
That's true. Let's feel sorry for Jeff. Anyway, so yeah.
God knows there's how many American stereotypes out there.
Oh God, you all have guns and it's dangerous out there. And
James is like, yeah, let's not touch this.
See, I'm defending myself. I got my phaser with me, and I'm always ready. Actually, did some digging. I found an QMX replica of the 2009 phaser in my things, so that's to add to my little but growing collection of phasers.
The Kelvin phaser.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually have a Playmates TNG Type 1 phaser and an Enterprise phase pistol as well. So I got as I said, a small but growing collection of tiny phasers.
Yeah, I think I've got the Cobra and the Nemesis somewhere.
Yeah.
And I've got the TOS communicator. And the medical tricorder and the season 1, 2, and 3 tricorder from TNG.
Wow. Okay, you do like your tricorders.
Well, no, because I don't have the. They're like, it's all the same. Season 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Playmates one. The ones that.
Oh, yeah.
Loads of people like refit to actually work properly instead of the ones that you have to like press the button and it just goes continuously round and round and round for about 2 seconds and then stop.
I wish I had those manual skills to do that, but I've seen a lot of people modifying their old Playmates tricorders. Actually, you know what? Because I actually have like the TOS communicator and phaser, like the Magic Wands one. No, not Magic Wand. Is it called Magic? No, not Magic Wand. It's God, it's basically it's the Bluetooth communicator and the phaser remote control, and both are like laser scanned from the original props, so like they're as close as you can get from the original props. But they hadn't done a TOS tricorder yet. And the thing is, I love those two things. I love the communicator and the phaser because they actually do serve a relative purpose. They're not just there to they can do a little bit more. So I wish they could, you could just take a tricorder, stick a, SSD drive in it and use it as a portable memory bank, or like put a little LCD screen and use it as a portable media device. Actually, I've seen people with Space 1999, they had those like what they call the comm locks, like they opened the doors when they communicated with. They had like little CRT TV in it, and they communicated with that. And I've seen people, and now that we have the technology, I've seen people like put like a media player in that, like put a little SD card in it, and you have a little screen. You can watch a Space 1999 episode on a comm lock, which is freaking awesome. Actually. Which is really awesome. So, but I really wish I forgot the company, but that I'll just call it a Magic Wand company for
well, that's what they're called, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
they're based in the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So So I thought so. Yeah. So hopefully, maybe it's because they haven't found a TOS tricorder to laser scan yet. I don't know, but
I think they've stopped doing the TOS communicator.
Yeah, because I know those sold like crazy. Like they were sold out for when they came out. I guess people were waiting for them for about 45 years.
Yeah, it's called the Wand Company.
The Wand
it's based
Company,
in-
yeah.
Yeah, it's based in the UK.
Oh, well, there, see, British ingenuity right there.
Yeah, no, I've got the TOS tricorder. I'm pretty sure somewhere around here I've got
Is it
my
the-
father's old TOS phaser, but it was one of those phasers that you pull something back, you pull the trigger, and it like launches a disc up in the air.
Oh
and it
my
would
god,
float.
those are like from the dark 70s.
Yeah, he
Those-
gave
those
me
dark
he gave me
days.
the phaser bit of that. It's kicking around somewhere. And I've got a phase pistol from Enterprise as well that picked up at Toys R Us at one point.
Yeah, and
Um,
you know that those phase pistols, the Art Asylum phase pistols from Enterprise, some of them were actually repainted and used on screen.
Really?
Yep. Because they were actually, like, someone told me that they handed one to, I think it was Scott Bakula, and said, like, it feels more real than the actual prop ones. Because the Enterprise one, the face pistol, the Art Asylum face pistol, you can open it, take out the charge coil, and put it back in and close it up. And I guess the original prop was maybe a little too static and foamy, or I don't know. But yeah, so some of those toys actually ended up on screen with a slight paint job.
Did you know you can get one of those on Amazon? This is Amazon UK for 520 quid.
Wow, I seen them for like $200 over here. Thankfully, I have a friend who was just disposing of stuff and sold the phaser and communicator, the Enterprise phaser and communicator for cheapest chips. Because he's
Oh,
a
it's a
good
dual
friend.
pack. It comes with a communicator as well.
Yep. Hey, but those will go well with my upcoming Enterprise jumpsuit. Well, it's going to be the Columbia jumpsuit, but yeah.
There's some amazing stuff on Amazon.
oh yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
like
mean,
the DS9 mugs. I used to own one of these before my mum smashed it. The ones that are kind of like the really old shaped ones, look like trumpets, megaphone type things. You can get a pack of 6, limited edition. 420 quid with delivery. The proper collector's ones as well. They've got like
Incredible.
collector's numbers on there. If I was rich.
Oh, if I was a rich man. Do, 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 do. Oh, boy. But yeah, so, what happened this week? Well,
Well,
I don't know. Nothing
Picard started
happened.
shooting.
what happened this past week?
Everything.
Yeah,
No. Well, actually, I think the big news is that, contrary to some rumor mongers would want you to believe, they actually started production on the yet untitled Star Trek Picard series. So they made Patrick Stewart work on Easter Monday, which should be for a knighted man should be totally not acceptable. But I guess
From well, I saw it on Reddit, everyone's favourite place.
yeah.
But I double checked just to make sure that its working title is what it appears to be. Apparently they're on location shooting in a villa at the moment.
So we might see I guess we all expect to see Picard at a winery somewhere.
Oh man, Picard yelling, as people keep saying.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
But
apart from that,
well, actually, we got some casting news. I don't think did we mention that last week.
I don't recall you guys mentioning it.
So I mean, the biggest name that came out from the casting announcement from last week is Alison Pill, who some of you may know, the younger folks may know her from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, where she played the kind of neurotic, damaged ex. Well, not, yeah, she played not an evil ex, but played Scott's ex, kind of ex. I don't know. Well, she was the drummer in his band, and well, you know, she might fill a Vulcan or Ramen role. I think she might do well in this, given what I've seen from that role. Others might have seen her in The Newsroom, Aaron Sorkin's HBO series, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I haven't gone through the last season yet, but I should go back to watch it to cure myself from the current news. I mean, otherwise, she played in Goon, in Milk. Goon being the hockey movie with Sean William Scott, written by Jay Baruchel, and Sean Penn's Milk also. She played, she played Mary Cheney in Vice last year. So yeah, she's quite a big catch, I gotta say. Otherwise, the other two actors are a little less known. You have, I think, Isa Bryons, and Harry.
She's.
Suffice it to say, the lady has a lot of credits to her name.
Alison Pill.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been going quite a while. She's not. Some of them are fairly newish in terms of.
Two of them, I think it's like their first acting gig. I think.
No. Well, two. Yeah, but none of those that were announced last week. But yeah. Well, I mean, it's not unknown for Star Trek to pick. Newcomers. I mean, look at Discovery. You Mary Wiseman and
Mary.
Wasn't
Mary?
Was it? I mean, I know she does her stand-up stuff, but Tig Notaro. I mean, she hasn't really had any acting.
Well, she
roles.
she has
she?
a series. She has a series called One Mississippi on Amazon Prime, which I highly recommend.
Oh,
it's really good.
I didn't know that.
She has some acting, ability, but I guess. Well, gotta say,
some.
Yeah. What I mean is that when she plays, she usually plays kind of herself. Because in One Mississippi, she basically plays herself. So I think that might have been part of the deal. Is like, okay, yeah, I'll play the Star Trek, but I want to play basically me, but in space, and it kind of works.
It works. I mean, let's admit it. The best part of the latest Discovery episode. Get off my ass, sir.
sir.
Get off my ass, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Her sense of humor is. I want to say kind of like very British, very dry,
it's
very
cut and dry.
Dry.
It's not for everyone.
It's good.
Yeah.
Definitely, it definitely could see her guest starring in an episode of Red Dwarf one of these days.
Do they still make that? I haven't seen a new episode.
Yeah, they
of
actually
Red
do.
Dwarf
Yeah, they do.
They actually have another series coming up, I think, next year. Because I guess
Yep, season 13. Yep.
There you go. See, that show will never die.
Red Dwarf it did for a bit, didn't it? It wasn't.
Yeah, it did for the longest time, but.
Oh yeah, it had a hiatus for sure, but it came back.
Yeah, a hiatus of 20 years, but yeah, it did came back, and I think Red Dwarf 10 was it was an experiment, but they went full on with the
10.
I
thought it was 9 that.
Oh yeah, the 9. Yeah, the Back to Earth one was kind of but it kind of showed that they didn't have much. They just want to restart the machine a bit. I think that's what that But then for the other series that came after that, they had more budget for, good old live studio audience and
Yep.
actual sets and all.
So it's Series 9, the Back to Earth thing, that was really meh. Series 10 came out in 2012, and then Series 11, 2016, and then 2017 had one, and then...
Well, that's the British speed of TV producing.
I'm not saying anything.
I was waiting for James to say something.
I mean, you look at Sherlock, how if you're a fan of that show, you have to wait every new year. And if you're a fan of Doctor Who, you have to basically wait like a year and a half sometimes.
And if you're a Game of Thrones fan, oh wait.
Yeah, but that's HBO, isn't it? That's not.
Yeah, but it's filmed mostly in Europe.
Ireland, I think it's mostly filmed in.
Then
yes,
let's do like the British
few
do
on location sheets.
Blame the Irish.
I remember where they shoot now. That's going to bug me. I kind of lost interest in Game of Thrones anyway. Kind of like season 6, I think it was.
Oh well, I mean they're on their final season.
Well, you'll now that Discovery's done, you can get back into it.
No, I've got plenty of other things to watch. Because I kind of don't watch much TV really, and the only TV that I do watch tended to be Discovery at the moment. Because I tend to watch that like when it's premiered on the Friday here, and then again, kind of probably Monday. Ready for this? To be fair, I haven't rewatched the finale yet because I want to binge watch the entire series from start to finish.
Oh, you've not seen the finale for Discovery?
Oh yeah, of course I have.
I was gonna say, just got on a stream and didn't even watch the episode. Slacking, James.
No, I've watched. I mean, I tend to watch every episode twice, if not more. But I haven't had chance because obviously it's been Easter and stuff like that. So family commitments and stuff.
Yep.
Well, yeah. So we have 2 other people added to the cast, other than Alison Pill. One being Isa Bryant, which is a relative newcomer, and Harry Threadaway, which his biggest takeaway, I guess, is isn't he the one who? Yeah, he played Dr. Victor Frankenstein in Penny Dreadful. And there's a series called Mr. Mercedes, which doesn't ring a bell to me, where he played Brady Hartsfield. And I think like that's basically his 2 biggest the 2 takeaways from his career so far. Yet up and coming actor, so looking forward to. But gotta mention, he's born in Exeter, Devon, England, UK. So probably
I mean, a lot of these people that have been cast are a lot of British actors.
Maybe a requirement from Sir Patrick.
Maybe
on orders from the Queen to take over the Americas.
Nope, we're good. You don't want to come here.
I'm just trying to find it all now. So I mean, all 3. So how many have we got? 1, 2. Yeah, he's not. He's an Australian. So 3 are English, 1's Australian, and 2 are American.
Damn it! No Canadian representation.
Discovery. I noticed Discovery. Pretty much 90% of their cast is Canadian.
I wouldn't say 90%. Well, thing is, the big actors are mostly Americans, like Anson Mount, Tilly, Stamets and Wilson, Wilson Cruz, Doug Jones is American. So the core cast is American, but yet the supporting cast is all mostly Canadian.
Yeah, I guess.
Which makes sense. I mean, but yeah. So otherwise, that's the big news. So looking for. Hopefully, we'll see a little starting production video like they did for the last 2 series of Discovery. But looking forward to that.
The other good thing that's come out this week is IDW announcing a mini series as a follow-up to the series 2 finale.
Yes, so that's what they couldn't talk about.
Yeah,
at Comic-Con a few weeks ago. So basically, it's going to follow Spock in the following weeks or months after the finale, which I guess is kind of like between when Discovery jumps and like the scenes at the end, I would think. But we'll see. Could be like during and after.
Well, the official statement reads, the new series shows how Pike, Spock, L'Rell, and the rest of the cast deal with the fallout from the mind-blowing events of Season 2. Okay. So, I mean...
I don't want a comic. I want a Pike series.
See, a lot of people are after that, and a lot of people are like really hammering it home, but I don't think people really get that. Even if they would choose to do it, you're looking at 2021 before it even hits the screen.
Oh, of course, but still, it would happen. That's the point.
True.
I mean, look, with CBS's plan anyway, with Star Trek going all the time, all year long, with all these series that they want to do, there's plenty of room for a Pike series. And Mount's definitely proved his ability to play the character. I would love to see more of Ethan playing Spock. He does a really good job. But I would also like to explore the character of Number One a little bit more, too. I mean, she got more screen time in Discovery, but there's still much more we could see in that character.
Yeah.
I still, don't know. I mean, kind of mixed emotions about the whole Pike series, to be honest with you, because it's like, well, how would you do it? Would you do it, so it's like Monster of the Week-esque? Or would you do it Discovery, episodic, like long form storytelling?
Thing is,
Both?
I don't know. Thing is with long story arcs is if you don't like the kind of story they're telling, you're stuck with it for the whole season. So if you don't like traveling stories, this season kind of sucked. So I wish there'd be a little bit more flavorful mix of the two. It started out great this week, this year. This year. We thought we'd have relative standalone episodes that kind of connected, but the thing is, they went more and more serialized as we went, which kind of bummed me out a little bit. Because time travel stories, I have a lot of issues. Thing is, unlike some folks on the internet, I can manage my expectations. Say, well, it's not my thing, but I still enjoy the show. But yeah, so I think a flavorful mix of the two, but we'll see.
I mean, if they could do it similar to the way DS9 did it in their final couple seasons, it would be good. You had your every episode of the week thrown in here, but there was still an overarching plot line.
Thing is, you have half of the episodes per season that DS9 had.
Yeah, so you got to have a little bit more, linear path, but you could still have your episode of the week thrown here and there.
But I guess production.
I think if you're going to do it that way, you're probably looking at something. I was going to use obviously the DC shows as an example, but I'm just looking at like all of them 24 episodes. Probably the best example would be Legends of Tomorrow. They're kind of monster of the week, but with an overall story.
Bring back Vic Fontaine in a Pike series. I don't think that character existed yet. Not to mention the Enterprise doesn't have any holograms on it anymore, according to number one.
I never really liked that character anyway. I found him a little bit.
You didn't like the Sinatra wannabe?
No. And I have to think, which episode was it? Take Me Out to the Holosuite, where they do the.
That was the baseball game. Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
Okay, so no, it's not that one. What was the one where they did the heist?
That was actually one of my favorite episodes of DS9.
That's
yes.
it, yeah. No, I didn't like that episode. And then the whole, like, when Nog spent the entire time in the holosuite with Vic, that kind of annoyed me as well. So they weren't two of my favourite episodes. To each their own.
It's exactly this. I can't tell what JP was doing. He's just like hiding off camera for a few seconds.
I'm eating, man. I just came home.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm avoiding a grotesque show of me eating.
I'm trying to.
It's not like you're sitting there butchering a lamb while trying to do a live stream.
No, but to be fair, I kind of understand because it's like 7 o'clock for you guys is kind of like.
Yeah, pretty much
dinner
time.
Isn't it? So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Whereas for me, it's midnight, so it's kind of 8 hours ago.
That's all right. Other news. Basically, they confirmed that the show will actually take place 930 years into the future for season 3.
Yeah,
How long
they'll stay
there? How long they will stay there is another question.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think that was one of the things that bugged me the most about the finale. Everything else was perfectly set up and everything like that, but don't know how I feel about an entire series now jumping 900 plus years into the future. It's going to have to be done very cleverly, I think.
Of course.
Yeah.
But this is also, listening to the fans as well. People have constantly, badgered and complained and whined about, oh, get out of the TOS. This isn't our TOS. So
you
it's
see,
like,
I read a very
listening.
good analogy to that. But, they wrapped it, the entire episode was amazingly done. And, especially where Burnham launched herself off the ship after the emotional goodbye with Spock and everything like that. It was just a work of art, really. But I think the perfect analogy for that was they kind of wrapped it all up by using a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito.
Yeah.
Because was it really needed? Was it, I understand that, they kind of had to do something to, wrap up the loose ends and stuff, but did they have to?
I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. I think my theory is that they're getting off the Brian Fuller weirdness. They're shaking up their last little kind of bits that they got stuck with when they started production back in 2016, and now I think it's as much as it is about Discovery getting quoting from Alex Kurtzman is getting free from canon. I think it's Alex Kurtzman getting free from what was left behind from that, Brian Fuller when he got kicked out. Because I don't feel like, from what I'm reading here, it wouldn't have been Kurtzman's choice to set the show where it has been set. He says
this is Kurtzman taking control.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I'm all for it. I mean, yeah. Again, this whole season of me speaking is about me reminding people that Alex Kurtzman did not just do crap. People remember the crap, but they don't. Somehow they fail to remember the actual good things that he did. Which
So we're saying the J.J. Abrams series was good. Oh wait.
Well, 2000, the 2009 movies has its strengths.
I will admit it has its strengths.
And the thing
teases.
is, and people, what can I say? Going back to what Kurtzman did, people forget he worked on Alias. He worked on was that show? Oh God, I keep forgetting the name of that show. You see, I'm no better. Just hold on, Alex Kurtzman. Yeah,
I'm already pulling him up.
Yeah, there you go. See, he what was it? Scorpion was relatively good. Transformers Prime, which some say, oh yeah, and Fringe. See, people love Fringe.
He's an executive producer on Hawaii Five-0.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hawaii Five-0. Yeah.
Producer on Now You See Me Too.
Salvation also had a good following. I think it was.
Let's see.
Salvation was a good series. So I think what killed that was the fact that it was during the summer. It was a summer CBS show.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is a lot of people don't tend to watch what I call it like live TV, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's more of a catch-up show, and I think that was the problem. Shows that do well are shows that air fall to spring.
Just one more thing. He was a co-executive producer on Xena Warrior Princess as well.
Yeah, that's one of his first jobs. So
yeah. I mean, the guy knows his stuff. It's just when you have other people that have creative control over things, it can sometimes derail.
2009 wasn't bad for a reintroduction and everything like that. And Beyond was a fairly decent film. The worst reboot film was Into Darkness. I don't care how anyone spins that. That was just pure crap.
And I think they actually acknowledge the thing is that too many hands in the kitchen. Basically, that's what that movie was. Too many cooks.
Too many cooks, not one chef.
Yeah, there you go. And
it was just. Don't even get me started on that film. I mean, it's just. People say it's a rehash of the Wrath of Khan. Yeah, it is. And then people say, Nemesis was kind of like Wrath of Khan. So like, everything like that. But no.
Into Darkness was cramming. Oh crap! What's the TOS episode that introduced Khan?
Space Seed.
Yeah, it was a combination of Space Seed and Wrath of Khan all in the same movie. It's too much story for one movie sitting.
Yeah. But anyway, so basically, Kurtzman, anyway, at this point where you're an executive producer, your job is not writing the scripts. Your job is like, here's a general direction. I'm going to go back in my office and count the beans and make sure that everything's on time. That's basically what an executive producer does. Like people
that's essentially. People kind of like talk to him about like ideas of the show and stuff like that. Because you hear a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I spoke to Alex, and we decided this and that." But he doesn't. He's not actively involved in the writing, and I think fundamentally, that's where the strength of Discovery is really. And I know a lot of people don't like the writing of the show, but to me, it's one of the strong points of the show.
So yeah, well, looking forward to see what Michelle Paradise brought. Let's see, I'm looking forward to see what the team does now that they have a fresh blank slate ahead of them. And so, anyway, looking forward also if how Calypso is going to link to all this. That's going to be interesting. Because somewhere, because if in Calypso the ship has been waiting for 1,000 years So that could be like 1,000 years from 1,000 years. So that could be like 2,000 years from Discovery's, 23rd
Well, that would
century.
make that what, the 42nd century? Because
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, the amount that they've jumped into the future now would take them to, I think it was 32.
32nd century, I think, and beyond.
So it would take it to the 42nd century, which
has never been mentioned whatsoever in Star Trek before. So they've got a blank canvas.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the latest that we've had is what, the 29th century?
Yes, 29th is when you saw the. I think it was the Dauntless, the time ship.
Yeah.
When in Voyager, when you see when they first get the Doctor's mobile emitter, that time ship jumped in at the same time or something like that.
Yeah, episode.
Great episodes. I just don't remember much out of it.
I can't remember. No, I mean the time ship was the time ship Aeon, wasn't it? And the I can't remember the name of the episode now.
It was in Star Trek Online as well.
Yeah, I mean there's a time ship from this Voyager episode Relativity, and the actual ship was called Relativity as well. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, and that was 29th century. So if they're going to the 32nd or what have you, I'm not doing mental math tonight. They've got a blank canvas to play in. For all we know, the Federation doesn't exist anymore. Ooh,
and then it's going to be Andromeda all over again.
Oh, okay. So Daniel was from the 31st century. So we're kind of like looking at the
28, 29. So let's see. I'm going on Memory Alpha here. 30th century.
Woo! Excuse me.
Daniel's temperate database contained info on a Series 24 craft body style A and a 3391 Series 69 hull design C. Let's see. So basically, the 31st century is like is when that's where Archer's been sent to like an alternate future where everything was destroyed. That's basically when they landed. And 32nd century. That's basically where Dr. Gabriel Burnham, mother. Yeah, so basically that's 3187. Technically, is the year where the Discovery lands, according to Memory Alpha.
Excuse me.
So
it's going to be very interesting then, because, and the only reason I say that is because the 31st century technology, if I remember rightly, that's where they kind of like had the TARDIS ship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Time ship. Yeah. So.
I mean, at this point, anything, that future could be gone because of something that happened before or after or whatever. The time is constantly in flux and timey-wimey. And if they decide that, time ships are kind of stupid, which it kind of was, they decided it's not a thing. It's not a thing. because Enterprise fixed the time war with the Daleks and something.
All right, my brain is officially fried out.
I'm just trying to think of it all now. It's kind of like if they're going to the 32nd century, either something drastic is going to have changed, so they can't use because obviously the temporal ships had temporal transporters, didn't they? So it's like, well, what stops them all beaming back to the part? Yeah, it's just so. Yeah.
See, that's why the whole time thing was really silly to me in Voyager, is because at that point time doesn't really matter anymore, and like the Federation becomes kind of like Time Lords.
Yeah, I just have one thing to say to that, and I just posted it in the Skype chat. I'm about to post it in the live stream chat as well.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Had to be said.
But I could envision that there's only like, that maybe not the whole Starfleet is time enabled, and it's only like a tiny part that are like time police warriors I don't know.
Oh,
I could do with, let's just say that never happened, or it's part of future that happened but ended up not happening because Janeway happened. You see, because
I love the fact that DS9, the temporal investigation guys show up and they're all like, "Oh, Kirk, worst of the bunch with the temporal problems and everything." Have you? Wait, well, no, technically they haven't yet, but wait until you investigate Janeway.
Yeah. So Janeway's like, hold my beer.
you know what we could say is, because of the Janeway thing in the Endgame episode, like the future Federation is all screwed up. There you go.
Yeah, we could say that, but is
I'm
it really going to
saying
go
it
that way? We'll have to
because
see.
I am betting you £10, and not $10, not $10 American, not $10 Canadian, £10, that we will not see like the silly time Starfleet kind of thing that we saw in Voyager. I can 100% guarantee you.
It wasn't just Voyager, there was it. I mean, first 3 seasons of Enterprise.
Yeah. Oh, that was bad. That was bad. God, I wish they didn't do with that. See,
Hey, now that Nazi episode, those were good. Because who didn't love that glory shot of the Enterprise flying through New York? Just saying.
Yeah,
your good old, your classic space Nazi.
I think DS9 was the only. Oh no, and Next Generation were the only treks not to have Nazis in.
Yeah. Well, so far Discovery's good in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Voyager. I was going to say Voyager didn't, but then I was like, wait a minute, the hologram episode. that was set in World War II, so yeah, there were Nazis in that
again
one,
with
it's technically not time travel; it's a holodeck. So I mean, they kind of get away with it, but kind of not.
Well, patterns of force in TOS was not time travel; it was a cultural contamination. So the only Nazi time travel story is from Enterprise. The other two are, one is holographic and the other is alien culture imitating World War II Germany.
But they still had Nazis in it. That's just.
It was cultural contamination.
Mm.
Go watch the episodes again.
Yeah.
Yes, James.
We know,
James.
James. You're not a fan.
I'm
of
looking
TOS.
at you, James. I will strap you down and make you watch it.
No, TOS is the.
He's trying to find the right word.
No, I will handpick episodes, and I'll have it on in the background. But it's not something that I will, watch. I mean, I'm just coming up to the end of rewatching TNG on season 6, episode 12, I think it was. And I have that on, like, when I go to bed and stuff like that. But no, TOS, there's a few episodes that I'll handpick and rewatch. Like, if I'm going to watch Wrath of Khan, I'll watch Space Seed beforehand. Stuff like that. But
go watch the first Space Nazi episode.
Isn't that the one with the historian in it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like he's basically half dead, but he thought that somehow the Third Reich could bring an alien civilization to the path of righteousness. I mean, what kind of historian? You're a bad historian, Mister. It's bad. I'm at a loss of word. I am.
Hang on. What kind of historian actually looks up to the Nazis? Arnold J. Rimmer.
Yeah, his name was John Gill.
Yeah. Boy. Anyway, so Otherwise, news-wise, if you go back to that, that's pretty much it. We have a new series that started production and the comics upcoming. And Kurtzman has basically released the shackles from canon and from Brian Fuller. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
We've covered Discovery's Jump to the Future.
Yep.
Tear-jerking moments of the series season finale. What would you say they were? For me, the biggest one was the goodbye between Spock and Burnham.
Yes. That just yes. I mean, Cornwall's second said, bleh. I can English tonight, I promise. Every time I get on these live streams, I suddenly lose the ability to speak. Cornwall's sacrifice, it was sad, but it wasn't, oh my god! Not like Michael and Spock having to say
my
goodbye.
reaction to that is basically, couldn't you just have taken some string and pulled the handle from the outside?
No.
I mean, the way I see it is they couldn't kill off Pike for obvious reasons, couldn't kill off Spock for obvious reasons, couldn't really kill off L'Rell for obvious reasons, because, she's was on the Cleve ship, and the likelihood of that going boom is slim to none. So and they were saying goodbye to Burnham and the crew of the Discovery, so they kind of had to wrap up Cornwell's storyline, and I think they did it in a nice way. They did it. She sacrificed herself.
I guess maybe like she felt guilty for pushing Section 31 and all, and I think. But the
thing is with Cornwall's death, I actually see it a little bit further than that. In a behind the scenes thing kind of deal, they had to preserve canon, quote unquote, and by doing what they did in the final scene, swearing everybody to silence. At that point, anybody who had knowledge of Discovery or Discovery systems, aka Spore Drive, is either dead, missing, or in the future. If you left Cornwall alive, who authorized the Discovery, experiment in the first place, it technically would break with the canon. So,
thing is, the actress was so good. I could have done with her being on Discovery when they flew through the wormhole, but you gotta have those deaths in those 21st century TV shows now. It's it's important to kill people. You gotta kill.
It's gotta have that dramatic effect.
There you go. But to me, the tear jerk moment was with Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp. It's basically Wilson Cruz over Paul and you're my family. You're like, it's like how you realize, which is
Yeah,
it's a little classic. It's a little cheesy, but it's a good kind of cheesy. You're about to leave for for something probably that's going to end up being a bad decision, and I think probably realizing that he might lose Paul forever in the deep future.
Yeah, I kind of get that, but personally for me, having been in a relationship in the past where things have not gone according to plan, that kind of
but the thing
it felt weak, shoehorned, unrealistic, and to be perfectly honest with you, I kind of found it offensive.
Well, the thing is, it was kind of one-sided. Paul could have if Paul would have been mentally present, he could have said fuck you, but the thing is, we didn't get that, so all we got is the one-sided kind of thing, and looking forward to see if there's going to be a fuck you in season 3.
Yeah, I kind of
but
hope that isn't the end of the overall story there, because I love Wilson Cruz. You know that from when we discussed about last week and everything like
Yeah.
that. But I feel that they've done a major disservice to his storyline if they just wrap it up with them two getting back together and everything's all happy jolly, you know, because they had it all planned out as well, not planned out, but they they promoted it as, you know, he'd be going through PTSD and, you know, they'd investigate what's that, you know, what that is like and everything like that. And I find it kind of, and I think that might be the reason why I find it kind of offensive, the way that they like wrapped it all shoehorn, you know.
Well, the thing is, as it's not wrapped up. All the thing is, it's him allowing it. It's him allowing himself to go back to a place that he might start to see himself again in. You know, the thing is, we all kind of have phases where we, you know, want to see. Nobody, you know, has died and come back from the dead and in a new body. First of all, there's that, and I think it's, you know, I think as I said, it probably just, to me, is really just him realizing, well, I either suck it up and stay there, and like he probably like found, you know, I see it as like realizing that stop being a dickhead, and you know, he still loves you, and you know, he probably found those feelings again, like, or maybe just like the start of those feelings.
Yeah.
Or he may just have allowed himself to feel those feelings, because sometimes you will consciously block, you know, feelings or reactions because you're so damn stubborn because you want to do something else, and faced with the finality of that relationship, says like, well, you know, sometimes you know, when, you know, I'm theorizing here. You know, we're not psychologists, but honestly, to be continued.
No. I know what you're saying. I don't know.
But
I'd also like to point out that in the prior episode, Hugh did somewhat realize that he was being a bit of a dickhead, and you know, he was going to turn around and say, you know, I want to try again, you know, apologize. But Paul, he was the one that kind of put the final nail in it. And he said, yeah, you know, I think it'll be good for us, you know, whatever you move on to. And then he was like, oh, well, I'm going to go with the Enterprise. So he was kind of like, oh, I screwed up.
So maybe like season 3, they'll get a little bit sassy and say like, say, "Oh
because
no, you didn't!
They're not
oh no, you didn't follow me to the future, didn't?"
Yeah, I don't know. I just hope that isn't,
you know,
the end.
Because
if it is, then it's kind of, you know, that's how I feel. If that's how they decided to write the end to that particular story.
Well, the thing is that the two characters are still alive and will be there season 3, so it's not the end. First and foremost, it's never the end until it is the end. So
apart from that, I mean, there wasn't really there wasn't really any other tear-jerky moments, was there? I mean, people got a bit bleary-eyed, obviously seeing the Enterprise in space dock, and you know, with that warping away and everything like that. But
I think the only other tearjerker moment, and it finally clicked. Oh, so that's why we never heard about Michael. Ever.
you know, my reaction
imagine. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Imagine being Spock and living how old he lived, all the way up to, you know, even going to an alternate reality and still keeping his silence for all those years about someone who apparently was his, you know, emotional, you know, counterbalance. And never seeing her again, and never being able to talk about her again. That kind of hit me, and I was a little, you know, tear jerky at that moment.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, otherwise, I think that was probably the longest space battle we've seen in the whole of Star Trek. Like, basically.
Oh my god!
They were at it for like basically 50 minutes, hour and 4 minutes of the episode. It's like,
Yeah.
I think.
No, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, normally it's a couple of phaser shots or a torpedo and it's gone, isn't it? You know. And believe it or not, people complained. People complained that that it wasn't. It was too unrealistic. It wasn't like the fight scenes we've seen in like DS9 and stuff like that. And I was reading the comments about that, and I was just like, fucking pleasing you. That's literally what I thought to myself. It's like
I'd like to point out that Nemesis as a movie, that space battle was as long as this one episode, and that was between
a super big badass ship that can fire
4 ships.
Cloaked.
Yeah, 4 ships, and one was ultimately cloaked more than half of it, and that was still almost 45 minutes long of a space battle. It's like, it's possible. The number of ships that was in that
and
flight.
people forget that the Enterprise and Discovery, they're supposed to be big capital ships. Like they're supposed to be able to take a beating, and
not to mention it's not TNG era where everything's super overpowered.
Yeah,
we're talking old tech.
But I mean, if you're looking, the thing is, first of all, it is logical, and I say logical, for a big kind of carrier ship like that, or at least a battleship, to have support craft fighting around. Thing is, it's something that we haven't seen in Star Trek because, often enough, the scenario didn't require it, or like they never had the money for it. But we've seen, we've seen fighter or support craft mostly in DS9, and and like even in DS9, you've seen like runabouts in big major battles, and if they were there, it's probably because they could make a difference somehow. And I said the visuals kind of made me think of Battlestar Galactica a little bit.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's being the huge Battlestar buff in the room. The whole time we've been on this live stream, I've been talking to another friend about possibly setting up some kind of Battlestar LARP. Just a little sidetrack. The visuals and the detail that went into that battle, especially with the jerky camera movements, like you're the actual guy out in space, with the camera.
Yeah,
it definitely had the artistic style and artistic flair that was seen in the remake series.
One thing that really screamed Galactica to me is like in the early fight scene, you see like explosions like all around the spaceships.
Yes, the flak barrier, basically.
There you go. Yeah. So I don't know.
Except it wasn't really a flak battery in Discovery. It was kind of one-man ships being blown up really quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
one man, drones basically. But yeah.
Go ahead, James. You wanted to say something?
Well, no, I was just going to say. I mean, Robert has pointed out that the shuttle bay, because obviously they had like over 200 ships and stuff like that. But didn't number one say that she commandeered?
Yes, she pretty much gutted whatever she could find. Not gutted, scrounged. That's it. Scrounged whatever she could find and packed it full, and even upgraded a whole bunch of them with enhanced phasers.
And if you really want to go there, let's talk about the Voyager's shuttle bay size.
Torpedoes.
How many torpedoes do we have on the ship? Count them up throughout the number of episodes.
Yeah, awesome,
and no way to resupply
that
them.
video.
And they had like
I'm going to find that YouTube video now because it's absolutely hilarious.
Because they had to specify no way to resupply them.
Yeah.
And then never mentioning it again. And then
I think they said they had like 24 torpedoes or something like that. Ends up using like 130 throughout the entire series.
Yeah, no, I mean they start off with 38, and then the whole video is like 6 minutes long, but it's absolutely hilarious. Yeah. And it literally they end up with, just trying to think, minus 83, 84, 85. Yeah, by the end of the episode, they might have minus 85 torpedoes. Which, okay, yeah, obviously torpedoes are just essentially the casing and then like antimatter and everything like that. So essentially, yes, I guess they could have like created more and stuff like that, but
it was said explicitly in the first episode, we have no way of replacing them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it's just like, it's, and then people whinge about, and then that's what really got to me, I think, the most about, the most inane comments that you'd see, well, it breaks canon. It's just like, well, yeah, and
people break it all the time when they're writing the freaking show to begin with.
Yeah, it's just, and that's a prime example.
Honestly, I think there's a something about how they wanted a certain way to do the visuals. Like it could have been easy for them to have brought like more regular starships, but not just the Enterprise. But I think what the writers wanted is something quote unquote intimate between Discovery and the Enterprise, and bringing like 4, 7, or however other numbers of Starfleet vessels could have, dampened the effect of like. So I think that's kind of the compromise the writers came with, and also that kind of heightens the mood, not the mood, but the feeling, and when the Klingons and the Kelpians arrive, rescuing them, helping them up. Kind of like in DS9.
Yeah. So, except it wasn't, a giant barrage of weapons fire. It was one giant ship just ramming into two others.
The thing is, that was impressive. I do like the concept of the cleave ship. Why didn't never thought of it before? Basically, one giant ramming ship.
Yeah. That was really, and to see, like, it kind of like aching back to more of this standard bridge layout as well. I think that was really nice, because obviously on the sarcophagus ship we saw really obscure consoles,
multi floors. It looked more like a cathedral than anything else.
They kept elements from it, but it was a lot more standard. I can see like behind the scenes them just being they just scrunch up the parts from the from what was left from the from the sarcophagus.
Well, that bridge was a redress of the brig again, but you couldn't note. The only way you'd notice is like
it was a redress of which ship?
Of the brig from the Vulcan Hello.
Oh yeah.
And the only way that, because I was looking at some of the pictures, and you can see like the same way as they redress Spock's quarters and everything like that.
Gotcha. Going back to the visuals topic, I was actually scrolling through the Treksphere Facebook. Someone here posted a GIF or it's a video saying that Discovery takes on control, and it seems they have had a refit at some point. They now use TOS style phasers. Every single shot that's hitting the Discovery is coming from Section 31 ships. The Discovery still uses the pulse phaser thing that you saw in the previous season.
Really?
There was a few shots that you could see the pulses firing off from Discovery as the camera flew underneath it. Because I've watched the video at least 3 times now. Every single one of those phaser blasts has a shield. What do you call it? An impact ring slam from it.
Well, that's rather annoying, because I was the one that shared that.
Hey, we all make minor mistakes, but I will say this: I was very, very pleased that they decided to go with the phaser, the dual phaser strips thing that the Enterprise uses.
The phaser balls.
Yeah, well, the phaser balls, but the fact that they were actual, phaser lines, not you're seeing in season 1, because I get the progression. I mean, Discovery is supposed to be the next generation of ship. The TMP Enterprise used those types of phasers. I can see the progression, but this is supposed to take place before TMP, so it's like if they had screwed with the Enterprise's phasers, I would have been a little bummed.
Oh no!
So I was
very, thing is, both visually and last week we already talked about how the sounds from the Enterprise bridge were all from TOS, but like they cracked the notch up to 11 for the sound effects on the Enterprise.
Yes.
Like
It wasn't just TOS sounds that I heard on there too.
Oh.
No, yeah.
There was a couple of TMP, sensor pings.
Yeah. I actually
the low drone, that kind of thing.
I heard like the computer, like computing, the mechanical computer sound at the end of the episode was like, oh my god, they went there. They actually put the like mechanical punch card computer sound.
All they need now is dot matrix printers.
Yeah, I know, right?
I did like the detail they put into Spock's station, though.
They even had like
Yeah, go ahead.
The moire pattern on the screen was just like
yes, yep, that. But also the what they didn't have to do, but they did, was that one screen that stood up and it looked like a speaker.
Yeah,
even that was included there, and the thing that Spock leans down on and looks into, that was there. I was like, okay, they did it right. They did it right for a faithful upgrade to something that we expected to look like it was out of the 60s. I all respect, Neutral Zone Studios, formerly Stage 9, and what James has up at Ticonderoga, as beautiful as those sets are. I wouldn't want to see it on a modern show,
Yeah, and actually, I traveled to Toronto to see those. God, but they're probably torn down by now. Shame.
What?
The sets, like the sets and the Discovery Enterprise sets. Hopefully, hopefully they're secure in a container somewhere, ready to be operational again.
Yeah, I doubt that they made those just for 2 episodes.
Yeah, I
could be wrong.
They could probably redress it or reuse it for a different ship or something at some point. I mean, it would be a real pity if they did it for a 2-episode thing. But let's be fair, in the history of Star Trek, it has happened quite a few times. Star Trek The Next Generation, you had the bridge on the Stargazer. That was obviously the TMP bridge, but still, it was built, torn down.
The biggest, I think the Voyager, not the Pathfinder.
Excelsior.
No. Because that was, you basically took the sets from Star Trek 6. The ships that can separate in 3 parts. The Prometheus.
The Prometheus.
Yeah, I mean that was basically
that was an elaborate set that got used for 1 episode.
Yeah. So I mean, given their budget, given the budget they have for Discovery, they could. And the thing is, with the budget they had and the cultural significance of the Enterprise and Enterprise Bridge, I think they could have just done that for 2 episodes. I wish they wouldn't, but the thing is, they could.
It's a history of Star Trek to build sets, and then tear them down, build them, tear them down, build them, tear them down.
And thing is, those sets will be reused. That's a guarantee. But
how? Whether it's the Enterprise or something else. Yeah. I mean, a perfect example from Discovery. I mean, look at the Section 31 ship. That was clearly the Shenzhou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, thing is, they took the Shenzhou and added a second level, and that was a really, really nice refit. And adding that second level was really interesting. And we added a lot of, the camera could play around in there, and they did play around a lot with the camera in there.
Well, I mean, they already had experience doing so. I mean, look at the sarcophagus ship.
Yeah.
That was multi-level. So, I mean, they already had the experience with working with multi-level.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, otherwise, yeah. So story-wise, it was, we all kind of expected it. but I'm glad that the 7 signals kind of thing was done. We can move on now. I'm still not sure about how come like they all appeared once, like for Pike, like at the end of season 1, and then I'm not sure about the mechanics. And the thing is, they never really. And the thing is, I think that's something we're gonna have to get used to in the new kind of form of Star Trek. Is like they're not gonna explain everything, like how that signal can traverse, can be seen, and how they can be detected, and what's the work. Like that's it. You roll with it, and
Yeah, no, I do have to agree. I mean, the way that the light travels through space and stuff like that, there's no way that they'd be able to see it. And previous trekkers kind of established that they don't have the means to scan that far. But I don't know. I mean, it's
the thing is,
I didn't really pay too much attention, to be honest with you. It was
it wasn't
a
really
plot device, wasn't it? It wasn't something that was overly.
It wasn't
needed
the
to be
essential.
explained.
Yeah, it wasn't the essential. It was there for a plot device, and it worked.
Yeah. Otherwise, although I understand like the way like do you want to seal the books on all of that, I think that if Spock's reasoning was really wrong in the sense that if you want to learn a lesson, you don't seal the books. You have to learn from your lesson. People must know what happened, and that kind of felt it felt more like we have to move on, and doing a show in the 23rd century was a mistake. So let's just make sure that
Yeah. Again, we have to preserve the canon.
There you go.
And
it felt more like that than it felt really tacked on that. Although it was, the last part was really nice, but the reasoning for, it could have. How can I say that? They
could have gone about it in a better and different way, but
yeah,
they chose the way they did, so we got to live with it.
Yeah. They could have erased themselves from the past, and yet still existed in the future. But
it is what it is. I mean, in terms of things that they did, it wasn't bad. It wasn't mind blowing either.
It's just
worked.
like the thing is, it's just a little cheap. Storytelling wise, it's a little cheap to just we'll just wrap it up in red tape and forget all about it.
Yeah, I get that. And like I said earlier, it was kind of the sledgehammer mosquito approach. And you kind of have to think to yourself, was that done because of the constant crap that they kept getting? And it was kind of because it wasn't just a few online comments, was it? People were actually attacking the stars of the show on social media. And that's when you got to think to yourself, is this going a little bit too far? And is it their way of kind of like trying to negate that and trying to stop that? I mean, not that it probably will, because some of these people are strange.
The thing is, whatever they do, those folks will never shut up.
Somebody has to be upset about something at all times,
and it's going to be because the time fleet star thing from Daniel's future with Mr. Dark-faced from the 27th century and all, and because thing is the excuses are going to get a little bit more sillier. They're going to get sillier. It's not that because of that kind of crap, but now they're gonna. But thing is now is they can't have that because back in now, and now the thing is they'll be bound by the whole of 6 shows, 5 depending if you count the animator. They have to deal with the Borg and stuff and everything that happened from the previous show. As where Discovery, they only had to deal with what happened, in Enterprise, and making sure that I think story wise it's a little different because you can just say like we don't have to deal with that and that. We don't mention Cardassian, we don't mention Romulans, we don't mention those, and that's fine, and that makes for easier storytelling. As when you're getting in the future, you have to deal with the consequences of everything that happened, so it's a different pot of noodles to put themselves in. And the thing is, they're whatever you do, there's rock in a hard place, basically.
I mean, Christopher Fisher made a good point. I mean, I don't think it was so much them caving, to
they certainly
strange people, but I think it was more along the lines of, they had to kind of, I mean, I could be totally wrong. This could just be me, thinking more into it and stuff like that. But they kind of, some of the venom that some of the stars were getting on social media just.
Yeah, it could be a way to protect their people. That could be a perfectly valid reason. It could be caving. My thing is, the way I'm looking at it all is, they might want to play in their own playground, create something of their own, use established characters, spent 2 seasons setting up these characters so that they're, they are a crew that trusts each other and can overcome, whatever situation is thrown at them because they have the experience, not because they're green as grass, but because now they also, they can handle where they are now. And now that they're 1,000 years into the future, they get their own playground to play in, and they have the creative freedom to do what they want, whether or not that means bringing in, previously seen races, like the Borg or the Cardassians. Please, no Borg. We have had enough of Borg. Romulans, the fallout from, the Picard series when it does come in, because, I mean, as the worry is, they risk blowing the storytelling, from the Picard series onward. I mean, the Picard series is coming out before the new season of Discovery, so they've got time to balance the two.
Yeah, I mean, one thing Chris, that I've mentioned before as well, is just that a lot of people have been saying, the Picard show will blow Star Trek Online. Well, yeah, A, Star Trek Online is not canon, so tough. But B, it's like I said before, the people who, Cryptic have given CBS and the writers of the Picard series, a kind of blueprint of how their, that universe works. So, I mean, I don't see why, the writers for the Picard series and season 3 of Discovery, they won't kind of like try and meld things in together so that, there is no issues with the storytelling and stuff like that. And I think part of the reason why it's good that the way CBS and Kurtzman and everything like that want to have like one show end and then the other, a little break and then the next season or next show or whatever, is because then it gives them chance to not screw up with canon as much as the previous series have. Because you had a crossover of kinds between TNG and DS9 and DS9 and Voyager.
Yeah, with the Julian meeting Data.
Yeah, but you've also got to bear in mind the amount of times that all of the previous incarnations of the shows have screwed each other over in terms of what came before. I think it would be quite... I don't think it's going to happen this time because it is one big production as such. Obviously, you've got different shows and everything like that, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of overlap in, okay, well, they're doing that in that show, so we can't do that in this one. And does that make sense? Instead of it being, okay, well, that's been running for 6 years, or in 3 years' time, we'll just screw up what came before, sort of thing.
Now I'm just reading the comments that are coming up right now. Well, yeah, I mean, Robert, what you were saying about, I mean, if, Picard show, it might have some locks based on what happens in Discovery. Again, you're going in reverse here. Picard's coming out first, and then Discovery. So they're going to have to bounce back and forth between those. So whatever the Picard series establishes, Discovery has to follow. That's assuming, again, if they don't make it back to the 23rd century at some point.
I think they kind of have to, just going off quickly, because unless the Section 31 show is going to be based in the 32nd century, Michelle Yeoh's got to come back somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody, if anyone, minimum has to be her if it's going to be in that time period. But we don't know. There's no information about the Section 31 series.
Unless the Section 31 series is about the Section 31 in the future.
Yeah, which I could see that happening too, which would be interesting to see.
But thing is with the threads left from last week's episode, basically asking Tyler to rebuild Section 31. I mean, it's too good an occasion not to take. So I think that might be the thread that they left, and Churchill will find a way back.
Yeah. I mean, we've still got folks still clamoring for a Lorca return. So I mean, it's Star Trek. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
So who knows? I just say, with all the worries and everything that's coming up, just sit back, relax, and wait to see what they do. No need to get into a tiff over anything yet.
Because you see, Prime Lorca will evade from the Terran Empire, and then find the Tholian. And then they're going to zip him in the Prime Universe, but like 950 years in the future. Because it's Star Trek.
To be honest with you, I just want Jason Isaacs to come back. Because he's just still reading some of the way he deals with, trolls and stuff like that. He's just a typical Brit.
Yeah.
I don't want to, blow our own trumpets and stuff, but we just really do not give two shits what we say. It's just, we just call it out as it is. And that's what I really love about him.
Oh, because
he just doesn't care. I mean, he's been banned from Twitter and stuff like that before because of some of the stuff that he said to people. But he just comes back and does it again because it's just like, well...
He's him, and he's going to do him, and he's not going to care otherwise. There's nothing wrong with that. Chris, to answer your question, the lack of any excitement for the Section 31 show and a huge demand for a Pike series, it's actually not... There is a lot of excitement for the Section 31 show. But the Pike series is getting quote-unquote, the Pike series is getting so much attention is because we've already seen Anson as... I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Anson. We've seen his performance as Pike, and everybody wants more Pike. But before, we saw his performance, everybody was excited about Section 31. Oh, we're going to get to see, the down and dirty of the Federation, and the backroom deals and the sneaky spy stuff. And we're going to see more Giorgio. Everybody was excited for it. It's kind of in waves. But I don't think we're going to see a rapid change from a Section 31 show that has been announced, partially been casted, partially written, and confirmed to being worked on. I don't think CBS would just pull the plug just because there's more of a hype around a potential of a Pike series.
And not only that is, Alex Kurtzman just freed himself from canon with Discovery. Why would he set himself back into that trap by doing a Pike series?
I mean, and you've also got to bear in mind as well, the Section 31 series wasn't anyone's idea apart from Michelle Yeoh's. She's the one that approached Alex Kurtzman with the idea.
Yep, and I'm excited to see it. I want to see, more of, alternate Giorgio in Section 31. She's a phenomenal actress. I'm excited for it, but I don't see CBS pulling a 180 and going, oh, well, nobody wants to see this and people want to see this. I just don't see it happening.
Well, we'll see. Anyway,
I personally would. I would love to see more of Emperor Giorgio. She just makes me laugh, especially in part one, where she talks about blowing up a star that's going to close to supernova and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just the way she delivers those lines is just I found it hilarious.
And in this episode, I mean, she's basically like, she was talking about Leland, said like a space, like a meat, something sausage. What was it? What do you call him? What did she call Leland? Something sausage, and ew. She had some really good rapport with Non. And some good, and sorry to turn the conversation, but that scene in the corridor with the gravity going around, we never seen that in Star Trek. That's an action scene from Inception that they put in a TV show. They had to take a section of corridor, put it in in a cylinder, and choreograph the moves to go with the rotation of said cylinder. But cylinder. If you want to go the U.S. way, but
you mean there's another way? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I feel bad.
but anyway, I just want to say, like, that's something that really blew my mind. Is like, wow, that wasn't really necessary, but to see them.
I mean, just look at her final line to freaking to Leland.
Yeah, hear your scream.
Well, technically it wasn't Leland; it was Control at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, her final line to him, I want to hear you scream. Basically, it's like, ooh, she was definitely not somebody you wanted to screw with when you were.
And one thing I want to say, because a lot of people keep calling her Space Hitler, and the thing is, unlike Hitler, she didn't choose to become what she was. She grew in an environment where dog eat dog, and you had to do what you had to do for survival. And it's good old nurture versus nature. And her nature, well, no, so not her nature, but her nurture was, survival. You have to be the strongest to survive. And, she's thrown in this new environment, and I think that's something interesting that they're starting to tell with Discovery, and that a future show dedicated to her could bring is to navigate those waters and say, like, well, that's how I the thing is we've seen that told 1,000 times in Star Trek. Thing is, it wasn't something as dark and or as close to home. It was always an alien somewhere, a warrior race, and then taken out of its environment and now having to deal with life in a different way. Now it's a human. It's Asian women, from an environment that we kind of know a little bit. And yeah, so that's why I'm interested in that story. Is hopefully it's going to be told well, but so far it's, she understands the game of that universe, of the Prime universe. So far is like, don't be as outrageously killing, and not everyone wants to kill you. I think that she probably understood relatively quickly. But and yet, even though not everyone wants to kill you, still keep your guard up, and that, I think that's what brings that character a lot of potential.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they flush it out and how they move forward with it, as to whether it's going to be kind of her more as a, I don't want to use the word redemption because she doesn't really need to redeem herself from anything, but do you know what I mean? It's more whether they're going to use it more of a way for her to change, or whether they're going to use it more of as she's like a blunt weapon type thing. It will be interesting to see. I mean, we're looking at, like, I think he was like 2021.
Yeah, something like that.
They said that that the show would hit the screens anyway, so plenty of times to work on it. So finally, well, not finally, one subject before finally, saying goodbye to the characters and actor. I'm going to miss Laurel.
Oh, but yeah, Mayor Chiefo was.
Yeah, she was good. My only gripe was with the effect that they did on her voice, but I will miss her portrayal of a Klingon.
Mm. I won't miss Ash.
I'm going to miss him just because of the fact that he's a good actor.
Can you hear me now?
Barely, but I can hear you.
No, that's the joke is from a TV show in the UK where he played this recording studio technician, and the thing is, he was saying, "Hi, this is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?" And then the actor in the end is, "Yes, I can hear you." Like every time. And God, the thing is, if you haven't seen that, go watch Toast of London. I think it's on Netflix. I'm not sure about the US, but it's on Netflix in Canada. I do love that. I think British comedies. I absolutely one is officially.
To be honest with you, after his reveal and everything like that, I feel he was kind of majorly underused in series 2. He was kind of just tacked on after the fact to give him something to do. I think if he is moved to the 31 series, I think that's where he might shine. Because obviously if he is the director and stuff like that, he's going to have both a Klingon mentality and a human mentality of how to, the best way to do things. And I think that could be interesting. Other than that, he's not going to be one character that I particularly miss.
In afterthought, Ash should have been half like a Romulan instead of a Klingon, because the sneakiness of Section 31 is really more akin to the Tal Shiar than a Klingon. But that's you see that's the kind of stuff you think after you've penned. That's the kind of stuff you think about after the fact, but that could have been Section 31 was created by a Romulan officer that defected in secret and all, and but
So, I mean, I think it will be quite interesting to see, if and when he comes back or whatever, what they do with the character. As for Pike, I'm going to miss Pike because he was, a quintessential good Starfleet captain. Apart from that, I mean, who else didn't make it into the 32nd century? I don't think there was. Yeah,
Pike, number one, Spock. Cornwell, Leland, and the princess, the queen, she remained behind in the shuttle.
Yes, she did, and Saru's sister.
Yep, Serana. I would have liked for the Poe to come along with Discovery. Just the level of interaction she had with Tilly was really interesting. But I can understand leaving her behind. I think the interaction between Tilly and Burnham will be enough. But that makes me think. They're gonna be faced with a certain problem next year. Not just being thrown in the future, but if you're in the future and there's no Starfleet or whatever, who's sitting in a chair?
Exactly.
I think Saru is pretty much certain to. I don't think Burnham would fight Saru for that chair.
I don't think so either.
Judging by interviews and stuff that Sinequa Martin Green's done, that's not anywhere on the cards just yet for her character.
Oh, okay.
She said, she was like, she wants to end up there one day, but she's still got a lot of growth to do. So I don't think it will be her. Don't know. Don't forget there's Commander Non. She was left unconscious in the corridor.
That's true.
But not dead.
Yeah,
exactly.
She did get 23rd century.
So she's a commander as well. Whether she was a lieutenant commander, I don't know. It was never really explained.
Yeah,
So
I don't think that's in her interests.
maybe.
You know, she's a security officer. She doesn't seem like want to be on go and command track and all. But we'll see.
It'd be interesting to see whether they change the uniforms.
Are they going to change uniforms or not? Well, the thing is, are they going to be? Are they going to be in that weird future that we've seen in Calypso? Or as I said, if Discovery actually waited for 1,000 years, so that might be like there still it might we might not be at the Vedreish stage quite yet, but we'll see.
I mean, you've also got to bear in mind as well that he's Calypso, a potential future of when Control 1.
Yeah.
And I mean that was because there was so many what ifs, especially considering they said in Calypso that there wasn't a lot of humanity left.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see next year, and if eventually the ship grows, and the thing is, they still have the sphere data, so they're still gonna have to deal with that. So an AI could still kind of grow, and they could build an interface for it and all. So now they have the, potential to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also the Ariam's memories are still in the data bank. So I mean, a lot of people have been speculating that maybe the sphere data will use her memories as a way of forming consciousness.
I'm sorry, I lost track of things for a few minutes. Did we address Christopher's latest question about Jason Isaacs coming back in the future as a descendant of Lorca?
No, I didn't see that. Sorry, I was just skimming to be sure we hadn't missed any news.
I'm keeping an eye on the comments thing, and I got distracted briefly by something and came back, and I was like, oh, wait, did we actually address this question? Do we think Jason Isaacs could come back in the future as a descendant?
I would love to.
I would like to as well, but they'd have to do a lot of explaining as to why they look the same.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, genetics doesn't tend to work like that. Although, having said that, I mean, it's freakishly. Some people do, don't they? Some people, it skips a few generations, but some people can look like their great grandparents and stuff like that. It's like it's possible, but unlikely. Plus, I think Jason Isaacs. If he does come back, it will be for maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
Well, didn't he say at one point during an interview that he would be more than happy to come back on a permanent basis?
Really, I didn't read that.
It's contract. They have the money for Jason Isaacs long term, and it's also scheduling. He's a busy guy.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
I think it would be an interesting dynamic to see how they would interact with someone that looked like him after everything that he did. Because I think that's what endeared a lot of people to Pike, was because he was the complete polar opposite to what Isaacs was. To what Lorca was, in the sense that Lorca was to this day I think it was a bit of a shame that they kind of like their character turned out the way it did, because it reminded me a lot of myself, in the sense that I don't give a shit sort of thing.
So you're from the mirror universe.
Yeah. Funny you say that, actually.
No. I mean, Mirror Universe James would give a crap.
Yeah, that's quite true, actually. But having said that, I do have an aversion to light, so it's entirely possible, because I've got the screen on my monitor right down, because I don't want to wear my glasses, but I have to actually wear glasses to look at like bright lights and stuff like that. So it's possible.
So
maybe I am.
And Jason, as I said, like, he's a busy guy. He's just finished the OE season 2, and there might be a season 3 for it. And he's working. There's a Dark Crystal thing that he's also attached to, although that might just be voice work. But yeah, so he's he's a busy guy.
Right, so wrapping up for season 1 of Treksphere Live. Don't really have anything to say to that other than it's been an experience, and
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly sound like you're full of hope for season 2.
Oh no, well there will be.
Well, hopefully, we'll have more, more collaborators. Looking at you, Jeff. Wink, wink. Not judging. Hey.
I've wanted to be on here more oftentimes than I can count, but
Yeah,
my
my
real life job is pretty draining. I work with I work with kids, and they can just pull the energy right out of you. On Tuesday nights, I would just come home. I'd look at the computer. I'd look at my phone and be like, "Oh shoot, they've been pinging me. I want sleep."
I mean, to be fair, I'm looking at when we'd return for the second season of this after the hiatus is changing the day, hopefully to a weekend, so I don't have to
Be up at midnight on a work night.
Well, I'm lucky I don't work at the moment, but yeah, I mean it's 20 to 2, so
Yep.
It does wear you out, especially on a Wednesday when I'm like, I get up early and I'm just like, oh my god, hardly any sleep.
Where's the coffee machine?
But yeah, and I mean, we definitely will be returning.
Yep.
And probably towards the back end of the year, when the new Picard show starts.
Yeah.
So excited. So excited.
For me, it's going to be a nice break from fandom. I've cut ties basically with everything and just keeping an eye on some news, but it was draining way too much energy for me. And yeah, it's got. I want it for me to be nice when I come back when the Picard shows, and so I'm going to stay as far away from fandom as possibly. As I can.
It does. I mean, especially having to be as involved with fandom, especially not so much you guys. Because obviously you just do it on more of a personal basis, but obviously because I run the website and everything associated and everything like that, it does get a bit much. Which is why now I either troll back or I just laugh, because you've got to have, you can't take too much of it to heart, because a lot of some of the stuff that you read and a lot of some of the it can really get you down. But
yeah, and thing is, I kind of rationalize this. How's a fucking TV show, man? It's like as much as I love Star Trek, at one point you have to tell yourself it's a TV show made by people. It's
you lie, it's real.
I know, right? But thing is like, there's other stuff. I mean, there's other shows, there's other projects, there's a whole life ahead of you. And the thing is, one thing I have a big issue with is people who build their entire identity around Star Trek. And it's something I came close to be, I would say victim or culprit, maybe more culprit of, is like, I'm kind of glad that my father gave me Dune and Foundation to read when I was a kid, because I would have been a real, thing is, I don't want Star Trek to define my life. As much as I love it, as much as I want to be part of it, I don't want it to define my life. And yeah, that's basically the whole reasoning behind what's been kind of shaking me the last few weeks. And it all goes back to something that Carlos Pedraza said, mostly about those folks who feel threatened by Discovery. And it's bringing new, fresh ideas. It's like, when you build your entire persona around a fictional universe, and then you have a producer that comes on, and it's like kind of shakes the rattled cage. Well, of course you're going to feel like your identity is being threatened. I
have a perfect analogy for what you're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Star Trek 3.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Pulling into space dock.
Mm-hmm.
And if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon. Now, come, Mr. Scott. Young minds, fresh ideas.
There you go.
No, I mean, it's true, and it's something, in an episode of TOS. Ha 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 ha. Spock says change is the... Oh, what was it he said? It's the essence of change or something.
Life is the essence of change or something like that, I think.
Yeah, hold on. Change is the essential process of all existence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's it's like I've always said, you know, I mean, some people don't like Discovery, some people don't like Kelvin. I don't like TOS, but I don't shit on it, you know, and it's one thing that I've always said to do with like the website and everything like that. And Jen's a prime example. She doesn't like Discovery, and she has justifiable reasons. She doesn't, you know, she can't meld with it. But I won't stop people liking what they like. It's not my place to be a gatekeeper. It's not my place to say, well, you can't like this, or you must like that, or you know, that's not the message of Star Trek. And
No.
a lot of people tend to laugh or whatever when I say stuff like that. But you know, the key essential message of Star Trek is acceptance, tolerance, and growth. It's not rocket science, you know. That has always been what I've taken away from it. I mean, other people might take something completely different, but
And you know, one thing I would say to go along with what I said before is, you know, and that would go with the Star Trek messages: broaden your horizons. You know, challenge your preconceptions. You know,
Edict.
basically, yeah. I mean, thing is, if you love Star Trek, but you never read Dune, you know, do it. It's gonna blow your mind. And the movie's
I've never
out.
read Dune. I kind of
you
got
should.
like 10 minutes into the film and couldn't stop laughing, so I turned it off.
Yeah,
Does that
but
count?
yeah,
Which film? Which film again?
The 1984 David.
Yeah, the
first
one with
of all,
Patrick Stewart.
it's a David Lynch movie. First of all, it's an acid trip. Okay, so yeah, it has basically little to do with the movie. Although I'm thankful that it wasn't the movie that was planned by that guy from Chile. What's you know? Anyway, read the book.
we digress.
But yeah, I do love to digress. But you know, that's something I wish I could tell more Star Trek is don't be a uni fandom, you know, don't be a, you know, be a Stargate
Don't
fan.
lock
Don't
lock
lock
into a
yourself
single
in-
film.
There you go.
Yes. Don't lock yourself into a single show that you idolize and obsess over. Enjoy other things since they are out there.
There you
Broaden
go.
your horizons.
And yeah, that
Don't
would- yeah.
basically don't turn into me. Don't BSG everything.
Oh, come on.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I understand why people get so passionate about it, and again, it's not my place to tell them not to. But it's finding that life fantasy balance.
Mm-hmm.
That I think a lot of people, and again, you know, it's not really my place to say this, but a lot of people don't seem to get that. You know, you've got to be able to have a balance between the two to really appreciate it, I think. And I think personally, for me, one of the main reasons why I have such a, not investment, but I do have more to do with like the whole fandom side of things than so like you two do, because of the whole website thing. For me, if I didn't laugh or just troll back or whatever, it would really get to me, I think. Just seeing such negativity and spite. But I don't know.
Again, broaden your horizons. You might find something you like more, like less, but at least you won't be stuck in a single thing and potentially turn toxic, like we have seen in recent years.
Because one thing I that really crossed my mind is, like, if you're a fan of something, thing is, if you build, if you go back to what I said, if you build your identity around Star Trek, well, basically your identity is owned by CBS, which is kind of sad.
Most of these people hate CBS anyway, so that's just kind of like deliciously evil.
There you go. But doing conventions, I came across some furries, and the furry fandom is really interesting in one simple way, and not the dirty thing, but in one fact is that they own their fandom. Apart from Zootopia, maybe that's something else. But that came after. But thing is most of what they build from that fandom is original characters, original stories, original stuff. There's still stuff that comes from other properties, but the core of their, I'll say, cultural identity is free from corporate ownership, which I really do find fascinating. And yeah,
In what sense, though? I mean, because obviously there's got to be some sort of and I don't want to say IP behind it, but yeah, something like that. That's kind of owned by someone, or is it just kind of like a free for all?
it's basically a free for all. If you want to be a half shark dragon, you be a half shark dragon. That's it. That's your character. And if you want to build a fucking fursuit from it, you go ahead, or you commission it from someone who actually do it. But yeah, there's no shenanigans about your uniform is not correct, or that button goes there.
Oh God.
Because when I go to conventions, I judge people, man. I judge people by their cosplays, and I'm.
Do you really?
Oh my God. Yes, I mostly keep it internal. Although at Vegas, I remember telling someone your pip's on the wrong side. Or and one thing that really bugs me is the cum badge should not be shiny. It's matte.
Yeah, you see that, I understand that. However, my counter argument to that is I have one of the Next Generation films, Generations com badges, originally from 1994 from Paramount. It's shining.
Yeah, I know. It looks good in person. It doesn't look good on camera.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it unless you make your own, and a lot of people do make their own stuff. So,
there's a good. Unfortunately, the Runberry shop used to be a good resource for those. Now they closed down their shop, but there's on eBay Intergalactic Trading Post. I think that's they do sell good quality matte cum badges. But yeah. That's
at the end of the day, though. I mean, you can always get one 3D printed and paint it yourself.
There you go, Mr. 3D printer. I mean, one thing about this week's episode, we did see a lot of 3D printing from the future.
Which I actually I remember reading a comment which we didn't touch from somebody previously that we saw they made a whole suit in less than 40 minutes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure remaking torpedoes wouldn't be that much of a stretch.
This is true, and I suppose replicators are kind of like just a newer version of it, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, basically, what we saw, and I think it kind of makes sense on an evolutionary technology evolution kind of thing is. At that point in Discovery, they're still kind of synthesizing the matter, but it doesn't use the transport system to materialize it. So you see the matter being synthesized, but it's had to be applied, by a laser or something like that, or force field. But, yeah, I mean, it was visually really cool to see, and it was. The thing is, even though it kind of looks. I wouldn't say more advanced, but it looks better than just a simple replicator, beaming a plate of hot Plomec soup. Thing is, it kind of makes sense on a universe, but I'm saying words. I'm saying words right now.
And on that note,
somebody's lost it for the night.
So that's it for season 1.
Yeah. Excited for season 2 with the start of the Picard series.
Who knows?
Looking forward at all.
We might return for season 1.5.
Who knows? Yeah, it depends on how big the news is.
Yeah. I do have plans for something for the summer. but that won't be live.
Yeah, we'll do
Well,
our
it might
own
be.
virtual
I
Star
don't-
Trek Las Vegas convention. All
Really?
in virtual.
Are you going? You
No,
going
no,
there,
but
right?
thing is, no, but thing is, like we'll stream for 5 days straight, just because we can.
Actually, you can't. Not on Facebook. The limit, I think, is 3 hours. You can stream for 3 hours at a
but
time.
you can set up for continuous live streaming now.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can.
Interesting.
On this note, though, I've
Yes, I bid everyone adieu.
cheers.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you later.
Bye bye.